I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice, you there?
Just without glasses. Roll call?
Trustee Blower.
Yes.
Trustee McGurran.
Yes.
Trustee Young.
Yes, ma'am.
Public participation. Individuals who wish to address the board must speak from the podium and state their name and address for the record. Points should be made clearly and concisely within the 5-minute time limit. One person's time may not be yielded to another. Comments should be made and directed to the board with courtesy and respect. Any responses from the board will be delivered in like kind. First tonight, we have Dan York, and he would like to speak about the chief search.
The alternatives aren't good.
Yeah, my name's Dan York, live at 4246 Oriole Street. I know that Bert's leaving Friday, and first thing I want to do is I want to thank him for the job he's done here in the Ross Township, and thank him also for being my friend.
Thank you.
When it comes to replacing him, there's a couple of guys in the department right now, but the one lead guy, I think, is Brian Rogers. He's been there at Bert's side. He knows what the direction that it's going. Not that it would be exactly the same. It shouldn't be the same. But he knows what the program is. He knows the people. He knows the community. He knows everything that needs to be known for this job. I understand that, you got to go out there and, look for this and that so that the public doesn't come back and say, oh, well, it's just an old boys program here, But to be perfectly honest, there is nobody better for that job than Brian Rogers. And I think Bert will tell you the same thing. April and I have only lived here about 7 years. It's, yeah, okay. I am old. But I love this community. I love it pretty much the way it is. I know that progress is gonna have to happen. But if we can keep it under control and not let it just automatically turn into someplace else, I think that's gonna be a good thing. And I think Brian is, he's with that program. And I think that's important. People come here because they want this. They want to live in a place like Ross. They want to have a great fire department, EMTs. They want to have a good police department, people that are going to be there for us. And I don't know, man. Basically, I just want to say, man, vote Brian Rogers. Guys, you're not gonna be wrong. You're not gonna mess things up. The man's gonna be there for you. He's been there for me from the first year we lived here. Bert's been here. I don't know. I guess I've already said it. Thanks, man.
Thank you. You'll be missed.
They got bass out there too. You can give up that golf silliness.
Next is Gerald Hilbert, and he wants to speak about the police chief.
What we're doing?
Stand right there.
Everybody, my name's Jerry Hilbert, 3663 Lehigh Road. And yes, they're in the. They are. Chief, I want to say thank you very much. Working with you and stuff like that. Done a nice job.
Thank you.
It's very great that we was able to get the new police levies put together. And now we can make that next step and keep it going. You guys are doing good. And that guy down there, he looks relaxed.
That should be.
And as far as the trustees, keep working, but I'd like to see hire within with the people that's been here. There's several people that's been here. Ryan was said, Mr. Little, for over 10 years. Hire within. That's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Okay. If you want to take a ride, they're in the garage.
Don't tempt me. Thank you, Jerry.
Jim Mueller would like to speak about the JED future.
What's that?
My name is Jim Miller. I live at 1813 Sky Meadow Drive. I recently read in the Cornerstone that last month the trustees voted to dissolve the JED. I'm going back, I guess I'm a little confused. 3 years ago, this community decided it needed a JED. They had the public meeting. The majority of people who lived in the district decided it was a good idea. It was voted on by the trustees. I don't think the JED was ever implemented or used. And now I see it's dissolved. So I guess my question is there a need for a JED in the future or a different JED? Or where are we going?
Talk first, Dave. You don't need to.
Okay, well, our JED was for 99 years, which is a very long time. Most of them are not that long whatsoever. The second of all, it would bring infrastructure in, which would bring growth in, which I think the majority of the people agree that they didn't want it. That's why they moved here, for the small town atmosphere. If we go ahead and just have that judge go ahead and put in infrastructure, going up 27, stuff like that, it is bringing in a lot of growth.
I mean, what happened in the 3 years between voting in a JED and voting out a JED?
It didn't get put in place because there was not a board. Now, they were starting to form the board, and when it was shut down, they were getting ready to swear in the chairperson. And we canceled their meeting, so they couldn't do that, to give us more time to look into it and make the decision what we wanted to do. And we all decided, well, two of us decided to dissolve it and get rid of it.
So is there any intent to establish a new JED, maybe
No,
not for
sir.
99 years?
No. Not as right now.
I don't understand. I mean, even section 14 of the existing JED says the township and the city should use their best efforts to do all things necessary for the creation and continued operation of the JED.
Well, first of all, tell me what you think would be the benefit. Tell me.
When there is development here, you cannot have to put the tax burden on the existing people. That's the purpose. That's all.
And okay, this is going to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, and now look at some of the other townships who have them. And it grew and it grew and it grew. Do we ever, all of us want that? I don't think so.
I don't know, but I mean, 3 years ago, you needed a JED.
Well, that was the thought then. It's not the
The only
thought.
thing different I
So do
see,
you say the public was all for it?
they're at the public hearing, they were in agreement, and the majority of people who own property in the JED district said they wanted it.
That's 3 people.
Well, no, I wasn't.
That's 3 people who were for it. Those are the ones that own the property. That doesn't account for everybody. It's in this township, which is 9,000 people. 3 people do not run this township.
I just
Trustees do, but not the 3 landowners.
to not have a JED available when needed. You don't have to use it. I mean, it's fact.
And if we ever change our mind, we'll set one up, but not until then.
Okay. It clears it up.
You want to address me?
It was also my understanding, and I don't know exactly what date the ORC was changed. But at one time, the then developer needed what was called an NCA to help him fund the infrastructure that he needed for the way he wanted that development to be. At the time, and again, I don't know when the ORC changed, but you could not you could not just have an NCA without a JED. It's my understanding that you needed a JED to put the NCA in because that was under 1,000 acres. That's a fact. I just don't know when the date changed. So once the NCA was killed, and that was in December of, I think it was 21, the need for the JED, as far as the NCA relationship goes, was no longer there. In talking with literally hundreds of people in Ross Township, I spoke with one person who wanted to see major development there. And by major development, I'm talking about a lot of commercial and even the hotels. In the survey that was done, the comments that I read, there were few and far between where people actually wanted, I would call that major development, which is now probably a $500 million development. I would call that major development. They didn't want it. So I'm not saying that there wasn't people here that did want it, or, I'm sure there was, but by and large, it seemed to me that most people didn't. The other thing that I was continually told is that it would help keep our property taxes down. I explained in the last meeting, and I don't have the paperwork with me tonight, but I took my house that's in Ross Township. I took a similar house in Westchester, Green Township, Harrison, and Colerain Township. Similar year, almost exact the same size square feet on similar size lots. The one in Westchester was their property taxes, with all the businesses out there that's supposed to help keep property taxes down, was 16% higher. Green Township was 71% higher, their taxes. Their taxes, a house like mine, was about $7,300 to mine, $4,400. Colerain was much higher. Green Township was, I think, 45% higher. So this, and I didn't do every house, and everything. I was trying to make a fair comparison. And, it seemed to be a farce to me that it was going to help keep property taxes down, because theirs weren't. They were much higher.
I guess I'm just confused. 3 years ago, we needed it. Now we don't need it. And I didn't understand why the development was there and then it was dissolved.
The development has been,
Hamilton responded yet?
they have not. I've spoken with Craig Buchheit, the city manager, and he is going forward with talking to the city council, and they'll get back with us, if there's any, when they make their decision. I hope that answered your questions. Ellen Yordy would like to speak about the garage in a residential area on Timberman Road.
My name is Ellen Moody. I live at 2941 Lehigh Road. The previous discussion here is something I think we would have to agree to disagree on, because I think you're totally off of what everything you're saying, because the property tax that increases is the property tax that's in the JED, not the outlying area. So you can't do a comparison like you did, because you're taking the whole township and comparing it all. The taxes that raise are the taxes in the JED. And there's also a 2% income tax levy that would be charged to the people that work in that facility, in that JED. Not anybody working out here or anything like that. It's all in the JED. I think the three trustees, maybe aside from Keith, need to go back and review what a JED is and how a JED improves the township and what the purpose of it is. But moving on to Timberman Road in Cincinnati, Brookville. Keith, back when I was still here, Timberman 2221, there was the business. Has anything come of that? Have we gone any further?
No word, and I've been by there numerous times coming home from Black Road. It's probably the same, if not worse. The privacy fence doesn't hide anything for the stuff that's on basically the south side of the house. I don't know if anything has changed in zoning whether they'll be able to do anything. Again, we lost numerous times when you and Tom were here and working with zoning and Butler County, trying to get something done about that property. But I don't believe anything's changed that we can go after until we're able to prove that it is a working business with or without a vendor's license.
Has anybody taken that on?
There has been, honestly, from his neighbors, there's
In the trustees?
no. There's been no updates from any neighbors that have been complaining about it in the last year or so.
I've gotten phone calls on it. I don't know if that's because.
Have you relayed them back to Lori? Because
That's true.
again, I haven't heard anything.
Well, I am tonight. And the address on 3299 Cincinnati Brookville, that was one you reported.
Yes.
And the guy got sick and we gave him more time and.
And
blah, blah.
again, coming home from Morgan Township, I feel that has gotten worse. And I think we still lay in the same boat that Butler County can't help us in that matter. That they come out and look at it and it's like,
Well, here's.
prove it's a business.
How do they come out and look at it when these people are doing the work at night? They're not gonna, the people at Butler County aren't gonna come out in the evening.
Like I said, the one on Cincinnati, I've seen no movement at all. No vehicles that have sitting there. The one I even asked him to move 2 years ago, that he said, yeah, I'll get that one out of the way. It still sits out in that hayfield.
What's the procedure for contacting Butler County? What do we do?
It would be the zoning office, and I think they're the ones that handle that. Again, when you're on the board, that's who we kept visiting, and they just kept saying, well, we can't prove it's a business. We don't see money exchanging hands.
Who do you call? Does anybody call anybody?
I have not called anybody, no. Again, because I haven't heard anybody
Russ?
make the phone call to complain again.
David?
Drive it off.
I've written down both addresses. I will go out and see if I can see them conducting anything that looks like business. I'll take pictures.
Evening.
All right.
You want some names?
My kids-
of People that you.
My kids live out that way. I pass that house all the time.
Names,
Please.
phone numbers?
Sure.
You want them? Jeff Butto is one. Phone number is 513-782-7905. Mr. Young, are you writing this down?
I'll get it from him.
Getting it,
Yeah.
okay. The other phone number for Butler County is the Mr. Ulrich, Uche, UCHE. I'm terrible at pronouncing names.
That's oosh.
His phone number is 513-887-3608. If you follow up and I follow up, we might be able to get something accomplished. I doubt very little, but it might be something. Because we can drive by both houses, or the one on Timberman, and they're only in the back shed or pole building, whatever you want to call it, at night, at dark. Music playing, diesel engines on, that's from a neighbor and whatever. So I mean, there's activity out there. You guys just got to locate it.
That was 3299 Cincinnati Brookville and 2221 Timberman.
Yes, sir?
Okay.
Okay.
All
And
right.
I want to say a final farewell to Bert. He's been a heck of a police chief. I can't say enough good things about him. He's done a lot for Ross Township in just 5 years. He's got a heck of a staff working for him. He's probably one of the best police chiefs we had around. He's unified or used the different areas that we have here in the building. There's, what is it, a Norris
Tactical.
program back in the back that other townships come to, even the Butler County Sheriff. I mean, it's phenomenal, the different things that he's provided our police department. He's the first Ross Township police officer that ever graduated from the FBI National Academy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
He's an Air Force veteran and has served 32 years in law enforcement. I think he's unbelievable.
Thank you, Ellen.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else for public participation?
Yeah, she got her hair. Taxi driver, right?
Something like that.
Procedural actions. Move the adoption of motion number 24-085 to dispense with the reading of the minutes from the June 6th regular meeting and the June 19th work session. I need a second.
Got it.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Move the adoption of motion number 24-086 to approve the minutes of the June 6th, 2024 regular meeting. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Move the adoption of motion number 24-087 to approve the minutes of the June 19th, 2024 work session. I need a second.
Yes, you got it.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Move the adoption of motion number 24-088 to open the public hearing on the 2025 Ross tax budget. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Fiscal Officer's Report, Board and the general public questions regarding the 2025 tax budget. The resolution will follow.
All right. Instead of giving you the 85-page document that is very tedious and long, what I did was I did a condensed version by department. So in front of you, you'll have 4 sheets of paper marked the 2025 fiscal year temporary tax budget, and the first page of that is general fund. So basically, I condensed it to I made it just kind of hit the highlights. Gives us the estimated carryover for the department, which is $1,135,225.55. The estimated 25 revenues, and this does include an increase in the property tax of $594,000. There are other items in there for general funds, such as local government fund, fines and fees from Hamilton Municipal Court, and some other items, but condensed down, that's it in a nutshell. Transfers out the $14,000. That is a really lowball estimate of fines from Hamilton Municipal Court. Sounds like something exploded.
No.
Chief?
And that's the money that goes to, that we typically earmark for the police department because it is as a result of the fines and fees. So we estimate it low. I think last year it was more like 19,000, but anyway, that's an estimate. And then total expenses for the year for general fund alone, $533,026, which leaves, there's 2 different totals there. Overall estimated carryover at the end of the year is $1,182,000. But if you compare the budget only, we would be $60,974 to the positive. So clearly our estimated revenues are more than our estimated expenses. Not always going to be the case as we go forward with each department, but that is to be expected with some of these departments that are, that don't have levies at all or do have levies and are ending. The next page is the road and bridge. There are 5 major funds that are road and bridge, 2 of which, the road and bridge and the road district, are inside millage, meaning those millages never change. And back in 1976, when the powers that be at the Department of Taxation decided the new methodology for funding local governments, this was so again, the same principles are going to apply. Estimated carryovers to the best of our ability, the revenues for the year, the expenses for the year, and then as you will see, like the road district, if everything would go forward, they would be upside down in the budget, but they're overall with their carryover by 31,000. Their estimated just revenue to expenses, they come out with their carryover, they still have a $37,000 cushion. And I have done that for motor vehicle fund, the gas tax, and the permissive tax. Motor vehicle gas and permissives come through the Butler County Auditor. It's what our township gets because of car registrations and then the gas tax and things of that nature. So what I did I not include it? The estimated carryover for the entire road budget at the end of the year is a collective 568,000. That is a cumulative total of all 5 of those budgets. Obviously, if one of the buckets is going to be upside down, we're going to move expenditures from one that's going to have more of a carryover. We would not let one run into the red. That's just not how that operates. And then the police department on the next page, they have the drug LE fund and the law enforcement trust where the DUI money and any forfeitures of property or sale of property goes into. Those are so immaterial, I included them. But the primary on that is the major police district fund. Right now the carryover is healthy. The estimated carryover of 682,000. Not so sure it's going to be that robust at the end of the year. We do have 2 officers that are currently being paid out of ARPA funds, and that ends as of the payroll that's tomorrow, or that will hit on Friday. Starting the very next payroll, they will be being paid out of the police district fund. So I don't know how well that carryover is going to hold up. I'm pretty confident it's going to be over 500,000, but I don't think it's going to be as robust as 682, but we can cross our fingers and hope. They are very mindful, even with Chief Roberts leaving. Lieutenant Rogers is also very mindful of the budget and always doing whatever they can to keep costs as low as possible. So on their budgeted item, please keep in mind any discussions over new salary for a new position, for the new chief position, was not included in this estimate because I had already worked on the tax budget and that was already in progress before. So knowing that if you look at that from a budgetary standpoint only, they're in the whole $27,000, but their carryover would still estimated be well over 600,000. Again, depends on how well we leave it at the end of this year. Typically, they do a pretty good job of keeping their expenses low. And then finally, the fire department, they have 2 primary funds, the fire fund at 2191 and the fire and rescue fund of 2281. I already kind of went over these, this budget with Chief Johns already, because his is looking it's looking really, really tight. Keeping in mind, we have one levy that has to be renewed this year. We're just going for a renewal. We're not seeking any additional funds because of the property tax situation. Ideally, in a perfect world, this would have been a good time to ask for more, but we're willing to just kind of just keeping things at a dull roar for them. It's a lot tighter than I would like it to be. And I've made a notation on there for Chief Johns and I as we go into the budget process and later in the fall. We're probably going to have to move some expenses out of the fire fund, probably utilities or something to that, into the fire and rescue fund because they have a little slightly healthier expected carryover. Keep in mind on that, there is a second levy that will be up in 2 years that we're really going to have to take a very serious look at. So I don't like to be the voice of doom and gloom or Debbie Downer, but if we're going to continue to operate a full-time department and have equipment as expensive as we have, we're just going to have to deal with that. So That is, I thought that was a lot easier to digest than going over the 85 pages of every line item. I can make sure you get email copies of this 85-page document. I do have notations in there for things. For example, in the general fund, I have a footnote on an item that this is the mulch that we pay for with the garden club. And I did make a notation on the property tax line for general fund, fire, and the police levies, saying that these are the latest and greatest. I've not fully, the way this was taught to me by my predecessor, and Judy had a really good handle on this. You estimate your revenues low, you estimate your expenditures to be a little high, and then it helps you create kind of that carryover, but not an excessive one. With the new property tax revenue, we've received our first half settlement. We've not received second half. I don't know what the state of delinquent tax payments are going to be till we have a full year under our belt. I'm still continuing to estimate those very conservatively. So I haven't fully estimated any of those levies at 100%, nor would I ever estimate 100% of them. I would always try to keep a little bit of a cushion. It just helps us keep our head above the water. So that's a lot of information. I have provided two gentlemen in the audience with copies of the 85-page tax document. It makes for fascinating reading. No, it really doesn't. But if anyone has any questions, I will do my best to answer them at this time. And keep in mind, this is just so we can pay bills on January 1.
Right.
We will do a more fully fleshed out version of this budget in the fall. Sometimes people do a temporary budget just to get you through the first 3 months of the next year. I tackle it a little differently. I try to make it the best working document that it can be so that in the fall, it's not such a heavy lift. And then I will work with the 4 department heads to do that heavy lifting a little later in the year. So.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Julie.
Any questions? And does anyone from the public have any questions? This is your opportunity to ask.
Or forever hold your peace.
Pardon?
Or forever hold your peace.
Or forever hold your peace. Again, once we start working through the budget at the end of the year, all these items are public record. Anyone from the public could come and request them at any time and would certainly make that available.
Any questions?
I have none.
Dave?
Listen,
Move for the adoption of motion number 24-089 to close the public hearing on the 2025 tax budget. Need a second.
you got it.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Reports. Fiscal Officer Julie Joy Smith.
In case you haven't gotten tired of hearing me talk, I have for your review and signature, I have a copy of the certification of purchase orders since the last meeting and the certification of all payments made since the last meeting, or for the month of June, essentially. I have in front of you the document that's got the blue heading on it. Again, that is just the receipts for the month of June. There's nothing too terribly exciting on here. Nothing that jumped out that I felt that needed to be highlighted. I also have in front of you the different management reports. There is a fund summary as of June 30 and a revenue summary as of June 30. Keeping in mind that we're 50% through the year. On the revenue side, we're looking pretty good. The property tax, if you look at the property tax line in each department, you'll see that we far exceed the 50% mark. And then local government's a little weird because it lags behind. Local government fund is, it may have through May on local government, but for gas tax and permissives, it's more through June. So it's kind of a weird, it's a weird percentage there, but everything is holding pretty consistently. And then I have the appropriation summary report for you that shows you how our expenditures have come. I did run a really quick review today of just the salary buckets for all the departments. We're looking pretty good in those, we're looking good in those line items as well. Nothing that I'm terribly concerned about at this point. And then for you to review and sign off on, here is the supplemental appropriations for the month of June. Again, this is where money gets moved from contingency typically into another line item within that department. There's nothing on here. There were a few things that I made notations that they were approved by the board. I finally got what the audit is going to cost for the 22-23 audit. And because we expended more than $750,000 in one calendar year of federal funds because of ARPA, we are on 2023 fiscal year is up for a single audit. So it's going to cost us a little more. So I didn't quite estimate as high as I should have. And we were short by about $500. So there's just some items on here. So again, that is for you to review and sign off on, that you've seen that and they've been noted. I also have for you to look at, review, and sign would be the bank reconciliation for the month of June. Everything looks good on that. There's no hanging chads for the month of June. And then I have the May credit card attestation. Something on here I reported last month that my township credit card was about $1,400 in fraudulent charges that were disputed, and those finally got wiped off. So that is showing on here. Also, I made a notation where former officer Jack Tremaine purchased his service revolver, and then we purchased one to take its place. So I notated the receipt number from Jack's payment of that. He also overpaid us by $10. I would like to return the $10 to him. So if Chief Roberts, I know you probably have a lot more things to do. I can get with Lieutenant Rogers when he gets back, if it's easier to get a mailing address for Jack. Unless, of course, if you hear Jack would like to make the donation, then I can certainly issue him a thank you and a receipt for the donation. Always trying to find money. Always. That's what I do. And I believe, unless you have questions about the tax budget, that is the final remaining item on my list for you all this evening, the adoption of the temporary tax budget. So if you have no questions for me on any of those items, turn it back over to you.
Purpose: after consideration of all discussion during the public hearing earlier in this meeting, the following resolution adopts the tax budget and makes the temporary appropriation of the funds for expenditures for fiscal year commencing January 1, 2025. Move the adoption of resolution number 2024-032, adopting the tax budget and making the temporary appropriation of funds for expenditures for the fiscal year commencing January 1, 2025, pursuing to RC sections 5705.14, 5705.28, 5705.29, 5705.30, and 5075.38. I need a second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower.
Yes.
Trustee Young.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran.
Yes. Move for the adoption of motion number 24-090 to pay the bills as presented through the fiscal officer's certification of purchase orders. Need a second?
Yeah, one.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower.
Yes.
Trustee Young.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran.
Yes. Administration, Lori Kyle.
Good evening. First, I would like to report on the progress that I'm making regarding the sale of the properties at the end of Morgan Lane. The prosecutor's office has provided some assistance. However, in regards to the actual sale agreement, they were not able to provide assistance. So now I've switched to Attorney Don Frick. But what I need from the board this evening is the minimum bid amount.
Which property is that?
4 acres, I think it was.
A little over, and I think Julie had found out at some point the combined value is $18,870. The township purchased the property for $15,000 in 2015.
Consider things have gone up, let's see, let's see, we can recover what we spent for it.
4.193 acres, the two parcels
It's not
combined.
really usable as is, has to be altered some. So it's not gonna carry, total value what would, its normal land. But I would like to see if we could recover at least what we had stuck in. Considering.
I would put it at 25.
I agree with the 25.
Okay,
Dave?
Yep.
so hopefully, all of this will be ready at the August 1st meeting to actually get the process started. Next, the last time that the representative from Congressman Warren Davidson's office was here, he indicated that the congressman would be in Butler County in August. He's looking for site recommendations. It was discussed showing him the North Tactical area in the rear of the building. If the board has any other recommendations you would like for me to submit to his office, I would be happy to do so. If you think about anything.
Does he typically just like to see businesses, or would he be interested in seeing like fortified mound at Pyramid Hill? I mean, it is in Ross. It is kind of an interesting.
Has he been to Mean Green?
Last time he was here, yes. Speaking of Fortified Hill, they did get approval to demolish the building with the help of the land bank. So that was greatly appreciated for the board's support of that project. In your packet is a nuisances update. Just today, I did speak with the property owner of the property on Cardinal Avenue. She indicated they wanted clarification on exactly what needed to be dealt with, and I said it was the construction materials that were located outside of the home. So they are going to begin working on cleaning that up. The current resident of the property apparently has some health issues, so he will work on it as he can. I would like to thank Chief Roberts for his dedication to Ross Township. It's certainly been a pleasure working with you.
Likewise, thank you very much.
And finally, for the board's consideration for resolutions, the first one is to enter into a new contract for the maintenance of the sanitary sewer systems located at Fire Station 102 and the road department facilities. We're entering into a new contract because there's been a minimal price increase for that service. The next resolution is to give me the authority to enter into a contract for the natural gas aggregation at the time that Energy Alliances has recognized the bid price that they would like for us to go with. That turnaround has to happen pretty quickly. Apparently, the pricing is only valid for like 24 hours. The third resolution is a nuisance property that sits on the corner of Hamilton, New London Road and Moores Road. Unfortunately, that property often sees individuals dump unwanted items there. This time it's a couch. And the final resolution is just to enter into an additional agreement in regards to the opioid settlements with pharmacies, and this one is with Kroger. So that is all that administration has this evening. If the board has any questions about any of those resolutions.
Who owns the property at 2150 Hamilton, New London?
His name is Heatherly. And the information gets mailed to a post office box. There's not a house there. The house was torn down several years ago. So I don't really know. I think he might live in Lindenwold. But I don't believe he lives in Ross Township.
Who is charged for that, the removal of that? Will he be assessed that?
Well, the property owner gets a period of time to deal with it himself. If it's a new offense, they have 7 days from the date that they receive notification. I send the notification in two manners: certified mail. A lot of people don't necessarily pick up certified mail because it usually is something that they don't want. I also send it through regular mail. Now, the certified mail gives us proof that they've received it. Regular mail, not so much, but so I can track the certified mail. When I know that that's been received, I start counting the days. A lot of times people will contact me and let me know the state of the situation, if they're working on it. And usually, as long as the board knows that they're trying to rectify the situation,
How much debris is actually there? Just this couch? Or
it's just that couch.
just not waste our time? Just
Well,
pick up
I
the damn
asked
couch?
the road superintendent that when I was informed it was just a couch, to drive by and look at it. He said it's a sizable structure. It requires more than just throwing it into the back of a truck. So if there's 2 offenses in less than a year, they only get 4 days notice. If nothing is done within that length of time, I do send, it's not required, but I do send a second notice. But then if it does fall to the township to deal with the nuisance, I usually get bids. I try to get 3 bids, and
How much would it take to get it out of there? A truckload?
Honestly, I went up and looked at it. It's like a double recliner with the middle piece, and it's disgusting looking, and it's down in the weeds, and I believe it's out of the right of way, so it's on private property. I mean, I could take a machine up there and grab it and throw it in a dump truck, but I believe it's out of the right of way, so I don't necessarily have the authority to do that.
Rather than going through all the rigmarole, just
Please.
rather than doing all the stuff with the expenses of sending mail and everything else, why don't we just go ahead and pick it up and get it out of there? We're talking what? 2 hours?
And again, like you stated, we're entering private property and removing something. You said it's out of the right of way. We can't touch it.
Yeah.
Without possibly being hit by the property owner.
Yeah.
You said he has a post office box. You don't have an actual address for him?
correct.
Municipal.
I looked up on the auditor's website, and the address there is a post office box.
Mr. Headley was at the Memorial Day Parade. I know a couple family members. I will pass that name on to you
Yep.
in private in your office.
Okay.
And then you'll have to call that family member. But yeah, he was at the parade.
Lori, is this the property that's on Moore's Road? When you turn on Moore's right on the left, just a wooded area?
Yes.
Getting back, I had contact with a couple people there numerous times last summer. And I believe the property owner lives in Sharon Park.
Oh,
I'd have to go back and look at my notes if I can still find them. And it would be, pull up through the county, my records, I guess when I called it in, the names there. The daughter was out there. So there's a daughter of the property. This information lives in Sharon Park somewhere. That's last summer.
okay.
Find that or not.
You want to run with that and I won't have the family member?
I'll check, so I can find the information.
I felt it was a volunteer when you said that.
I don't think I still have a lot of stuff.
We can probably find him, make some kind of contact with
I
him.
mean, through dispatch,
We can find out where he lives. I'll go to his house.
find an exact date, but you pull up the location, they pull up the location in a call that I was on at that time. And the people I ran at that time would be the names.
Find an address or a phone number, would you let me know? Anything else, Lori?
That was all.
Okay. Consideration for legislation purpose, the township contracts for maintenance of sanitary sewage systems for the fire and road department facilities. The following resolution enters into a revised agreement that reflects a price increase. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-033, entering into a professional services agreement with Winalco for inspections for the operation of the township's sewage treatment systems and authorizing the township administrator to execute the agreement. I need a second.
Second,
Discussion?
what was the minimal increase?
$60.
Thank you.
Anything else? Roll call?
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Purpose, authorize the township administrator to negotiate and enter into a natural gas aggregation agreement with the natural gas supplier in consultation with and upon recommendation of Energy Alliances Incorporated, the township's energy aggregation consultant, provided that the accepted aggregation rate is below the current Duke Energy Ohio gas recovery, known as the GCR rate, at the time of the execution for a period not to exceed 12 months from the start of the program. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-034, authorizing all action necessary to effect or otherwise continue a governmental natural gas aggregation program. Need a second?
You got one?
Discussion.
Lori, will this be like the electric where there'll be a letter go out that you're able to opt out,
Yes,
just like that? Okay, thank you.
Is it an opt-out at any time
yes.
for anyone? Anything else? Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Purpose, the township administrator has provided evidence of a nuisance violation to exist at a property on Hamilton New London Road. This resolution declares that property to be a nuisance and orders its abatement. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-035, declaring a nuisance for accumulated debris at 2150 Hamilton New London Road. Need a second.
You go.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Purpose, agree to the material terms of the proposed national opioid settlement agreement with Kroger Company and allocate and distribute proceeds in accordance with the One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding, which Ross Township adopted in resolution number 2023-014. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-036 to authorize the administrator to accept the natural terms of the new national opioid settlement with Kroger Company. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I got a little bit of a question. So what exactly, what kind of agreement do we have with Kroger?
We don't, we have an agreement with One Ohio Opioid. It's because we have a police department. We have the ability to recoup money in this opioid settlements. We're
Okay,
already
okay.
getting money throughout the year from other settlements,
All right, very good.
but the money can't be spent on just anything. So we've not expended any funds. We're just kind of letting them rack up for now.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Fire Department, Chief Chris Johns.
I have a few items on the agenda, but first I want to say thanks, Chief Roberts, and good luck to everything in the future. I've enjoyed working alongside you and your department.
Thank you.
Appreciate missed. Appreciate you.
Best of luck.
The first item I have is the monthly run report. 119 incidents for the month of June, 64 EMS and 55 fire runs. Inspection reports, 9 new inspections were completed, 10 re-inspections completed, and there's 17 scheduled to be completed in the next couple weeks. Update on the pneumatic unit. Captain Embry and I will be going to Van Wert, Ohio next Wednesday, I believe, for a midpoint inspection. So it's on the line, the end's in sight, finally. We can see the light.
Good point.
Delivery date still tentatively August. So we'll be going up there next week to take a look at that. Station 1 roof repair update. It got completed today, just in time. They started on it last Thursday and they finished up today. The Gator, as you all know, our UTV was wrecked in May and it's been totaled out by the insurance company. The salvage company came picked it up Friday. So I think we're just waiting for the check for the insurance company. And we'll work on getting that replaced. Fortunately, the skid unit on it, all the equipment on it is still good. It wasn't damaged. So
Is the money coming enough to replace it with a like unit?
there'll be about 4,000 out of pocket that we'll have to find somewhere in the budget to replace that. There's 2 items I have here for consideration for legislation. The first one is to accept a grant from the Hamilton Community Foundation for $1,800 for communication pagers. And the second one is to proceed with the tax levy for this fall, the renewal. And that's all I have.
Did I hear you say no new taxes?
Right, no new taxes.
Purpose, accept Hamilton Community Foundation grant for $1,800 for purchasing 3 communication pagers for EMS services. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-037, accepting the terms and conditions for EMS equipment purchase grant from the Hamilton Community Foundation, appointing and authorizing the fire chief as project manager to execute said grant terms and conditions. Establish grant fund number 2913 entitled the 2024 HCF Hanover Life Squad Grant, budgeting receipts and making appropriations for expenses, and requesting an amended certificate of estimated resources from the Butler County Auditor. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? Why are we using pagers? What is that?
To alert us if for some reason our house system doesn't go off, somebody doesn't have a radio with them. Ideally, I will have one for when I'm at home, and there'll be one at each station for the senior person to carry with them to make sure we don't miss a call.
So it's a backup, a more reliable backup.
We get them on our phone sometimes they don't work.
Okay.
You don't have your phone with you. So
Okay. Roll call?
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Purpose, at resolution 2024-030, in an effort to keep the fire department fully self-sufficient, the board declared the necessity to renew the current 2.75 mil levy. The Butler County Auditor provided the necessary certificate of estimated property tax revenue dated June 13, 2024, and the prosecutor prepared the following resolution to proceed with the tax by placing the levy on the November general election ballot. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-038, determining to proceed with submitting the question of a tax levy for fire protection and emergency medical services. Need a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Excuse me. Road Department Superintendent, Paul Bulak.
Just a paving update. All our asphalt paving has been completed. Looks great so far. It always does when they first put it down. But it's all done. The black mat on Mardell Court they ran into a problem over in Hanover Township, so they had to pull their crew. So it should have been done already, but now they're talking about the third week in July of completing that. Next year's paving needs to be turned in by August 1st. I have Black Road to get resurfaced and about 200 feet of Morrow Trail. It connects to Black Road. It's got some problems with it, but it's just, like I said, 200 feet, just almost to Corey Courts right there. That's 1.67 miles total. Using 24 numbers is $190,000 per mile paved. So we're looking at about 320,000, and depending on what the increase is, like there always is. And then every other year we do a retrace contract where they retrace the white and yellow lines on the road. So we'll be doing that again next year. That generally runs between 25 and 30,000.
On Black Road, the work we had done earlier with the culvert right there, that's okay? Won't give us any
Yeah,
problems?
I have not seen it over the road since it's been done. It's been a while, but we had a really good rain. I stopped and took some video of it. It was working the way it's designed to work.
So all the other culverts itself are not going to be replaced or anything like that within the next year or two?
No.
Okay.
I will double check the ones that we have, but I don't anticipate doing any more. If we do, we'll do them in-house.
Okay.
Have any other questions for next year's paving? You good with that? I need to turn that in to Butler County, so.
Do not.
That's all I got.
We'll move on to the police department, but before Chief Roberts talks, I've got something here. I want to thank you for your years of service to our country, to our town. I take exception to you calling me boss. I've never liked it because when I'm standing with you, I'm in all of the service that you've given to your country and your community. And thank you very much for that. I have learned a tremendous amount sitting in that office from you, way more than I ever thought I would, and not nearly what I need to. You've done so many great changes for the department. You've moved it in a position to toward perpetuity. Your tireless efforts with the levies and the way that you structured the department is going to leave it in a really great place. The long list of accolades that you have that have maybe just now ended with the FBI Academy are just tremendous, and I appreciate my time knowing you. I hope you don't change your phone number so I can call you once in a while.
Yes, it will not, so I can tell you that much. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Police Department, Chief Burton Roberts.
All right. The monthly stats for the month of June. I don't remember what we're looking at here because I guess we have a typo here. One says May, one says June. So for the month of June, we had 713 calls for service. So just for over the year so far, we've had just over 5,700 calls for service. We took 14 auto accidents, responded to 15 domestics, 2 emotionally disturbed calls, 2 OVIs, 1 shots fired, 1 sex offense. We wrote 43 citations, wrote 44 or gave out 44 warnings, arrested 13 adults, no juveniles, 218 business checks, 64 vacation checks for the month. So that is my final as far as statistics that I will be given. So any questions on the statistics for the month of June? All right. This past Friday, we did a Cones with Cars, Cops, Cones event again. I think this turnout, I wasn't able to make it just because of everything that's going on right now and was tied up with other stuff. But I don't think we had as good of a turnout. And I think a lot of it was just due to the weather. It was pretty hot outside and we didn't have a very good turnout. But I mean, it was decent, but not as big as the last turnout. We were going to do one again at the end of July, but on August 6th, we're going to do a national night out event like what we did last year with the dunking booth. And hopefully Madison will get in it again this year. I won't be here, so you have to take my place. So we're not going to do the cones with the cop event at the end of July. We will, since the national night out, like I said. And finally, like I said, this is obviously, I'm moving on. I knew this was going to be tough. But after 32 years of service, we all have to know when to say when. Jerry told me I can't say when until after 40 some years, but that would be way too long. I've accomplished more than I ever thought I would. I would obviously like to thank Ellen. Obviously, Tom's not here. Keith, the board that gave me the opportunity to serve Ross Township. This is a great community. Art, Steve, Matt, Madison, my new friend. I never thought I'd be hanging out with we'll go with that one. Chief Johns, wish you nothing but the best of luck. Paul, we've had a lot of good times. Julie, Lori. I mean, this is just fantastic. I can't think of a better way to end my law enforcement career. I think everybody knows that we'll be moving to Phoenix. I'm in the final steps with a couple of different departments. Nothing's been finalized yet. One is with Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and the other one is with Department of Public Safety, both as civilian jobs. Really have no desire, unfortunately, to wear this uniform. This man back here, we've been through it a lot. I don't know if the statute of limitations is up on some of the stuff, but Pat and I have been through it probably 30 plus years. SWAT, Vice, you name it. So I think I'm leaving you guys in good hands like any parent. Our goal was always to leave this place better than when we came here, and from my understanding, I believe it has. Obviously, I have no control who replaces me. I think I can definitely second everybody's opinion as to who I feel should replace me. I think he's definitely more than qualified. He definitely has the passion, the drive, the qualifications, Brian Rogers, to do this position. So whatever I can do to endorse him other than this, I think he would be fantastic in this position. Like has already been mentioned, he knows this community. He may put his own little twist or additions, whatever. I mean, that's what happens. Everybody has their own version of how they feel things should be done, but I think we leave him in good hands. I mean, you have some great officers here. This community obviously spoke overwhelmingly in November that they want their own police department, not only their own police department, but they love the officers that are here. And all I can say is thank you. So thank you. Hopefully not near any broken down Harleys, but only gold wings out there. But no, seriously, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Steve. Those that came out here, thank you. You guys will be missed. Like I said, my number is not going to change. We will be back in town. My wife will be back in town more often than I will because of the grandkids and everything. So, but I would definitely be back in town, stopping in. I guess my biggest regret is we never got the margarita machine for the lobby here that we had talked about often, but everything's negotiable. No, God love you guys. You always have a special place in my heart, so thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Can I go home now?
End of the page.
Yeah.
Purpose, due to the expiration of the current agreement, a new SRO agreement with the Ross Local School District is necessary. The following resolutions enter into that agreement and update the job description. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-039, entering into an agreement with the Ross Local School District outlining the work tenets and a job description for a full-time police officer, school resource officer within the police department. Need a second?
You have it?
If I could just add to that, I think everybody has seen that. I think the only thing that we really changed, and we did meet with the new superintendent and Mr. Castater, I think the only thing we really changed, and Lori, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is we were just, that they were paying for Dave's benefits when he was back in school again, because when they were having financial issues, that's when we assumed the responsibility. So I think that's the only thing we really changed, correct?
And the agreement, yes.
Yes.
And the job description just changed from reporting to a position we don't have, captain to
Right.
lieutenant.
And I've been told there is intent to approve that, but it has to be voted on by their board too.
Yeah, that's my understanding, yes.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes. Move the adoption of resolution number 2024-040, amending the Ross Township Summary of Personnel Policies by amending section 700.6.6 pertaining to the police officer, school resource officer within the police department. I need a second.
Go on.
Discussion?
Yes, what is this change? I may have missed it in my email on Tuesday.
Job description,
Yeah,
it's strictly terminology. It says it reports to a captain. We don't have a captain's position, so it's changing it to lieutenant.
okay. I'm good.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee McGurran?
Yes.
So the one thing I would like to say about as far as the police officers in the school, how many comments people love them.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
that's important to get. Because I have seen the kids rally around David. It's like dad. And it's good to see that because the respect for an officer is there. And hopefully will go on through the rest of their lives.
I mean, the rapport he has established up there, I mean, they're almost disappointed if it's not, when they see an officer, if it's not Officer Little. It's like, oh, you're not David. It's like,
Mhm.
my bad.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that was a huge selling point with the levy here. They were just afraid that they were going to lose the school resource officer, and that was a huge selling point for the levy.
Yeah.
Township business, old business. Discussion about the township sign at US 27 and State Route 28. Keith, you got some,
Yes, that would be me. Working with the designer, she has had, and I don't understand, of course, because it's all computer stuff. She asked Lori for a special type of the way she sent it, and Lori didn't recognize what that was either. But she's having trouble pulling the pixels to make the design that we originally sent. So I said, here's what, work on redesigning what we sent you in your format so it works out color wise, but also throws a couple other newer designs on it with her ideas. Because she's a Ross grad and lives in Morgan Township. So she presented 3 and I sent them to everybody on the staff, trustees, administrator, and fiscal officer. And they're that. I don't have a picture of what we originally submitted, probably back in late March. So what I've asked, I like the bottom one, but I've asked for this to be in a light gray, and I want to see a sheet. So I've asked her to print up a 3x3 banner and get it to us so we can physically look at it to see if that's the route we want to go. I know she sent the email over to her boss to get with me that I wanted to hear tonight. But business is business, and I know that company is booming. So hopefully something at the work session. I'll be available. I will actually text the owner of the company, and I'll go down to the office on Winton Road, and I'll pick it up for the next meeting. So we can get a move on here. But that's where we're at for that. Hopefully we can have something at the next meeting to look at.
If anybody wants to see these, by all means. The lower one that he's talking about kind of emphasized fields and corn. And when I saw that, I thought, well, that's Ross right there.
Kind of goes for the patch that EJ has to
I agreed.
design.
I agreed with
Thank you.
Keith as well. Next item, restrictions for parking on both sides of township streets. Next steps. Lori, did you have anything on that?
No, just, the last meeting where you were talking about large vehicle parking restrictions, which we are still waiting for a response from Don Frick. We submitted the recommended policy to her, so we're still waiting for her response. And once we have that, it should be in front of the board for approval. But during that conversation, the board began to talk about the possible need to restrict parking on both sides of the street. So this is just an opportunity to either continue that discussion, what you want, any of us, what information you need, or, just if you're going to proceed down that path or not.
To keep everyone kind of updated, there's areas of the township that are narrow, some of the streets. And when they're parked on both sides, John's doesn't have a snowball's chance of getting his equipment to the areas where it's necessary if there were an emergency. So that's where we're at with this.
I had something to that, right?
Yep.
Trust me, nobody gets more frustrated than myself during a snowstorm trying to get between two vehicles with a 10-foot plow. But saying that, I think you really need to think about this, because you're gonna cause problems between neighbors, different things. I'll give you an example of my house. I got one vehicle on the street, but my neighbor across the street has 6 vehicles and 4 of them are parked on the street. He's on the fire hydrant side, so if you do that, all 4 of his cars are gonna be parked in front of my house. And, you're gonna have that everywhere. Then when I try to have, family over or something, they have nowhere to park. And they're gonna be, I don't think you should do it. That's just my opinion. And I'm one of them. I know that they gotta go through it too. It's annoying, but I'd rather deal with it a few times than to have it like that all the time. Not to mention the cost of all the signs and posts and stuff too. And then the enforcement of it. It's my opinion. 2 cents worth, pennies worth, whatever it is.
Chief John's in the situation where something like that happened, and I don't know every street in Ross. I know where I live. On going up Rabina, let's take for instance, or even Longhorn. In the instance where cars were parked on both sides and you could not get a vehicle through, and I understand what Paul's saying, I get it. What would your next step be?
You either find an alternate route or take somebody's mirror off. If there's a fire, if there's somebody trapped, take a mirror off. We'll push the car out of the way. We'll get there. It's not ideal.
If it's wider than the mirror, if there's going to be body
It's up high
contact.
enough, unless it's a big truck, should be okay. The mirrors, their mirrors might not be. Our mirrors will be all right.
And I kind of feel fire safety is more important than somebody parking in the street and blocking it so you can't get through, because you're talking lives.
Yeah.
Not somebody's privilege of parking on the street. I think we should still go through with it. That's more important than people's lives than somebody parking.
There will inevitably be a party, we'll say a large gathering in some of the areas tomorrow. If it doesn't rain too bad. I'll do an informal measurement. I know I can barely get my truck through, and it's not just mirrors. I pull my mirrors in. It's still tight. So I'll measure it, and we'll just see where we are. Anything else from the board for old business? New business, anything from the administration?
None.
Anything from the board? Announcements. Lieutenant Brian Rogers will be serving as interim chief until a new police chief is hired. The Ross Township Board of Trustees is accepting applications for the position of police chief. Qualified candidates should submit a cover letter and resume by August 1, 2024 to the Township Administrator, Lori Kyle, via email or mail to the Ross Township Administration Building. I want to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July. Anything else from the board?
Just a reminder that we're hosting the Township Association
On the
meeting
11th.
next Thursday at Station 2 at 6 p.m. In I think we have final reservations then.
I gave those to him today. So,
Okay, is he overwhelmed?
not yet.
Okay.
We got several phone calls from this weekend when he's
We're
shopping.
up to about 70.
What route do you want me to go? You want me to go with
You've been
that private
spot
baker
on.
or?
You've been spot on in your gut decisions on desserts, so
You said,
I love the way she
but
thinks.
that lady that did Sam's wedding also could do the cookies. No? No? Really?
The wife says, but
All right.
I think she's probably right.
Back to
Theme bun cakes.
Yeah.
Springfield Township I go. Place the order. All right, and that is next Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll get it ordered first of the week.
Anything else? Correspondence, none from the administration. Anything from the board? Topics for the July 18th work session, crisis communication. And any other topic suggestions needed from the board? Or is this crisis in terms of a real crisis, or is this anything having to do with communication with
Yeah, this will be just,
media?
yes.
Closing action, is there any further business to come before the board? Move for the adoption of motion number 24-091 to adjourn the meeting. I need a second.
You can second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Blower,
Yes.
trustee Young,
Yes, ma'am.
trustee McGurran.
Yes. The next meeting of the Board of Trustees will be July 18th at 6 PM here at the Ross Township Government Center. And the next Board of Trustees regular meeting will be August 1st at 6 PM here at the Ross Township Government Center. Thank you for coming.